You have to understand one thing. That enlightenment is not an escape from pain, but an understanding of pain. An understanding of your anguish, an understanding of your misery, not a cover-up, not a substitute, but a deep insight. Why am I miserable? Why is there so much anxiety? Why is there so much anguish? What are the causes in me that are creating it? And to see those causes clearly is to be free from them. Just an insight into your misery brings a freedom from misery. And what remains is enlightenment. Enlightenment is not something that comes to you. It is when pain and misery and anguish and anxiety have been understood perfectly well, and they have evaporated because now they have no cause to exist in you. That state is enlightenment. It will bring you for the first time real contentment, real blissfulness, authentic ecstasy. And only then can you compare. What you used to call contentment before was not contentment. What you used to call happiness before was not happiness. But right now you don't have anything to compare it with. Once enlightenment gives you a taste of the real, you will see that all your pleasures, all your happinesses were simply the stuff dreams are made of. They were not real. And what has come now has come forever. That is the definition of the real. A contentment that comes and never leaves you again is real contentment. A contentment that comes and goes again is not contentment. It is simply a gap between two miseries. Just as we call a gap between two wars peacetime, it is not a peaceful time. It is simply preparation for another war. If the war is a positive war, the time between two wars is a negative war, a cold war. It goes on underground. You are getting ready for a hot war. Anything that comes and goes is a dream. Let that be the definition. Anything that comes and never goes is reality. Try to understand your misery. Live it, go to the very depth of it. Find out the cause, why it is there. Let understanding be your meditation. And try to understand your contentment also, your happiness also, and you will see their superficiality. Once you know that your happiness is superficial and your anguish is very deep, and it is in your hands, you can change your whole style of consciousness. Your contentment can become your whole being. Not even a small space is left for discontentment. Your love becomes your very life, and it remains. Time passes, but what you have achieved goes on deepening. More and more flowers, more and more songs are born out of it. That's what we call enlightenment. The word is Eastern, but the experience has nothing to do with East or West. Ordinarily, what we think is joy is not joy. At the most, it is entertainment. It is just a way to avoid oneself. It is a way to intoxicate yourself. It is a way to be drowned in something, so you can forget your misery, your worry, your anguish, your anxiety. So all kinds of entertainments are thought to be joy. They are not. Anything that comes from the outside is not and cannot be a joy. Anything that depends on something is not and cannot be a joy. Joy arises out of your very core. It is absolutely independent of any outer circumstance. And it is not an escape from oneself. It is really encountering oneself. Joy arises only when you come home. So whatsoever is known as joy is just the contrary, just the diametrically opposite. It is not joy. In fact, because you are joyless, you seek entertainment. It happened that one of the great Russian novelists, Maxim Gorky, visited America. He was shown all kinds of things that Americans have devised to entertain themselves, to get lost in. The man who was directing his tour was hoping that he would be very happy. But the more Maxim Gorky was shown around, the more unhappy and sad he looked. The guide asked him, "What is the matter?" "Can't you understand?" Maxim Gorky said, "I can understand. That's why I'm feeling sad. This country must be joyless. Otherwise there is no need for so many entertainments. Only a joyless person needs entertainment. The more joyless the world becomes, the more we need the TV, films, tinsel towns, and 1,001 things. We need alcohol more and more. We need new kinds of drugs more and more, just to avoid the misery that we are. Just not to face the anguish that we are. Just somehow to forget it all. But by forgetting it, nothing is achieved. So joy is to enter into your own self. In the beginning, it is difficult, arduous. In the beginning, you will have to face misery. The path is very mountainous. But the deeper you enter into it, the greater the payoff, the greater the reward. Once you have learned how to face your misery, you start becoming joyful. Because in the process of facing it, The misery starts disappearing and you start becoming more and more integrated. One day the misery is there and you are facing it, suddenly the break. You can see the misery as separate from you and you are separate from it. You have always been separate. It was just an illusion, an identification that you got into. Now you know you are not this, and then there is an outburst of joy, an explosion of joy. Every child is born ecstatic. Ecstasy is natural. It is not something that happens only to great sages. It is something that we all bring with us into the world. Everybody comes with it. It is life's innermost core. It is part of being alive. Life is ecstasy. Every child brings it into the world. But then the society jumps on the child, starts destroying the possibility of ecstasy, starts making the child miserable, starts conditioning the child. The society is neurotic, and it cannot allow ecstatic people to be here. They are dangerous for it. Try to understand the mechanism. Then things will be easier. You cannot control an ecstatic person. It is impossible. You can control only a miserable person. An ecstatic person is bound to be free. Ecstasy is freedom. When you are ecstatic, you cannot be reduced to being a slave. You cannot be destroyed so easily. You cannot be persuaded to live in a prison. You would like to dance under the stars, and you would like to walk with the wind, and you would like to talk with the sun and the moon. You will need the vast, the infinite, the huge, the enormous. You cannot be seduced into living in a dark cell. You cannot be turned into a slave. You will live your own life, and you will do your thing. This is very difficult for the society. If there are many ecstatic people, the society will feel it is falling apart, its structure will not hold anymore. Ecstatic people will be rebels. Remember, I don't call an ecstatic person a revolutionary. I call him a rebel. A revolutionary is one who wants to change the society, but he wants to replace it with another society. A rebel is one who wants to live as an individual and would like there to be no rigid social structure in the world. A rebel is one who does not want to replace this society with another society, because all societies have proved to be the same. The capitalist and the communist and the fascist and the socialist, they're all cousin brothers. It doesn't make much difference. The society is society. All the churches have proved to be the same, the Hindu, the Christian, the Mohammedan. Once a structure becomes powerful, it does not want anybody to be ecstatic, because ecstasy is against structure. Listen to it and meditate over it. Ecstasy is against structure. Ecstasy is rebellious. It is not revolutionary. A revolutionary wants another structure of his own desire, of his own utopia, but a structure all the same. He wants to be in power. He wants to be the oppressor and not the oppressed. He wants to be the exploiter and not the exploited. He wants to rule and not be ruled. A rebel is one who neither wants to be ruled nor wants to rule. A rebel is one who wants no rule in the world. A rebel is anarchic. A rebel is one who trusts nature, not man-made structures, who trusts that if nature is left alone, everything will be beautiful. It is such a vast universe goes on without any government. Animals, birds, trees, everything goes on without any government. Why does man need government? Something must have gone wrong. Why is man so neurotic that he cannot live without rulers? Now that is a vicious circle. Man can live without rulers, but he has never been given any opportunity. The rulers won't give you any opportunity. Once you know you can live without rulers, who would want them to be there? Who will support them? Right now you are supporting your own enemies. You go on voting for your own enemies. Two enemies stand against each other in a presidential contest, and you choose. Both are the same. It is as if you are given freedom to choose which prison you want to go into, and you vote happily. I would like to go to prison A or B. I believe in the Republican prison. I believe in the Democratic prison. But both are prisons. And once you support a prison, the prison has its own investment. Then it will not allow you to have a taste of freedom. So from very childhood, we are not allowed to taste freedom. Because once we know what freedom is, then we will not concede. We will not compromise. Then we will not be ready to live in any dark cell. We would rather die than to allow anybody to reduce us to slavery. We will be assertive. Of course, a rebel will not be interested in becoming powerful over other people. These are signs of neurosis, when you are too interested in becoming powerful over people. that simply shows that deep down you are powerless, and you are afraid that if you don't become powerful, others are going to overpower you. Machiavelli says that the best way of defense is to attack. The best way to protect yourself is to attack first. These so-called politicians all over the world, in the East and the West, are all deep down very weak people, suffering from inferiority, afraid that if they don't become powerful politically, then somebody is going to exploit them. So why not exploit rather than be exploited? The exploited and the exploiter both are sailing in the same boat, and both are rowing the boat, keeping it afloat. Once the child knows the taste of freedom, he will never become part of any society, any church, any club, any political party. He will remain an individual. He will remain free, and he will create pulsations of freedom around him. His very being will become a door to freedom. The child is not allowed to taste freedom. If the child asks the mother, "Mom, can I go outside? The sun is beautiful and the air is very crisp and I would like to run around the block," immediately, obsessively, compulsively, the mother says no, the child has not asked much. He just wanted to go out into the morning sun, into the brisk air. He wanted to enjoy the sunlight and the air and the company of the trees. He has not asked for anything. But out of some deep compulsion, the mother says no. It is very difficult to hear a mother saying yes, very difficult to hear a father saying yes. Even if they say yes, they say it very reluctantly. Even if they say yes, they make the child feel that he is guilty, that he is forcing them, that he is doing something wrong. Whenever the child feels happy, whatever he is doing, somebody or other is bound to come and stop him. Don't do this. By and by the child understands, whatever I feel happy about is wrong. And of course he never feels happy doing what others tell him to do, because it is not a spontaneous urge in him. So he comes to know that to be miserable is right, to be happy is wrong. That becomes the deep association